Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this evening's guest moderator, film editor from Time Out New York, David Fear, and tonight's guest, Harmony Korine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Harmony Korine. Let's start from the beginning. I know originally you had been collecting, you said you'd been collecting a bunch of images around spring break or images of spring breakers as reference material for paintings you were working on, right?
Yeah.
So at what point did the switch go off in your brain where you're like, there's a film in here?
I was just, I don't know. I dreamt up this image of girls in bikinis on a beach with like pink ski masks robbing like fat tourists, and it was just I kind of thought it was a cool image, and it was something kind of funny about it, something kind of scary, and I kind of thought about it, and then I developed the characters and the story. I was like, if they were going to exist in real life, how would that work? And then I just developed it from there.
I mean, one could hazard a guess as to what the culture of spring break, why it might interest you. I mean, I can certainly say why it interests a lot of guys. But what was it specifically about that culture where you were like, this is fascinating, this is incredible, this is weird?
Well, I didn't actually want to make a film that was like an expose or documentary or something on spring break. It was more of like a feeling. It was more trying to make something that was more like a pop poem or something that was more experiential, or make a film that was more like almost like a drug experience, something that was more hallucinatory and transcendent. And I had thought that there were all these elements to it, that there was these kind of hypersexualized, hyper-violent imagery or subject matter, but then around it, to the sides and all around it, swirling around it, were these kind of childlike, kind of almost like pop culture, little girly indicator, nail polish and Hello Kitty bags and Mountain Dew bottles and puke everywhere. So it was kind of spoke to me.
It's weird. I don't know if anybody here in the audience has actually been to a spring break in Florida. I went once many years ago, and I never went back. But there is this weird mixture. We used to call it like the Disney version of Caligula, because there's all this like hedonism and bacchanalia going on. And then, like you said, you'll see somebody come out like chewing gum with a like Hello Kitty backpack. It's such a weird juxtaposition of stuff.
Yeah, and I like that those things working together, but simultaneously. And then, but really, what I was most interested in is what happens, because it's really actual spring break is kind of fleeting. It's more like a dream. It's more metaphor or something, and then it's more for me about what happens when Alien, James Franco's character, kind of bails them out of jail, and he takes them into that world is more interesting. The kind of crime world, the trap houses off the strip, the kind of beach noir, or that like dilapidated yachts in the back of beach houses late at night. The kind of beach noir, Florida menace that I always felt about that place. It was more about that type of thing.
Yeah, it's a very Vice City element to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's an excellent use of music in this film, I have to say. But when you were writing this, it's kind of structured like a piece of music, like a piece of electronic music, or a certain kind of classical music where there's weird repetitions, and then it'll get discordant, and then it gets very harmonious. Was this going through your head as you were sort of putting the story together and writing the script?
Yeah, because I wanted to make the movie, again, that's something closer to like a drug experience. This one is like kind of trippy and physical and hallucinatory. And so I wasn't trying to make a movie that was like an expose or a documentary. It was something that was more impressionistic and filtered through something more imaginative. And so I had started to develop and play with this idea of micro scenes in the movie, or things that would happen very quickly and then repeat and come back, a kind of liquid narrative that was about more or less about energy and about a type of rhythm and almost like a peak transcendence, and then boom, it like disappears into back into the night. Something closer to what you experience with drugs or electronic music, or even pop music in some ways, that loop-based things that are sampled and come back and repetition, and some of the stuff that you hear and see is almost like cinematic hooks or something, like wormholes, like you would hear in like a pop song.
And so much contemporary pop takes a lot of that stuff from electronic music too. So it feels like it's this weird, almost parasitic relationship between the two.
And the music, that was to your point. The music is very much about the experience. It's very much this kind of bombastic, very pummeling, kind of relentless and also beautiful type of interplay with the images.
So if you look at your cast, and I'm sure that you cast this film. They're very talented actresses. I don't want to think that you called it like conceptual stunt casting.
I actually never said that. So I read that in the Times article, and I never said. I said it wasn't conceptual. The part.
Yeah.
But there you could say that there's a conceptual sub maybe theme or connection, which I was interested in.
Yeah, if you look at the cast, you've got somebody who's on a Disney Channel show, you've got somebody who's on an ABC Family show, and then you've got somebody who most people, even though she's 24 now, I believe, most people associate her with the High School Musical stuff. So obviously, I mean, when you were going into the casting thing, or even in the writing process, were you thinking like, God, you know what would be amazing is if I got these actresses that are associated with this certain strain of like nice girl pop culture, and then I could just totally fuck with it that much more.
Well, there's a couple of things. Again, I never think of the films as stunts or tricks or anything. I mean, you always want the movie to work as a piece in and of itself. First and foremost, that the film has to work as a piece, as a movie in a pure way on its own. Now, having said that, I was definitely also excited by the idea of these girls, who in real life are some ways tied into and representative of a type of pop mythology. I was excited about them coming into this film and having it work in that way as well. And also, I thought it was cool because they were of the culture. They were of that world in some ways. And so it kind of, worked all around.
So when you went to these young actresses with this script, were they ready to basically kind of put a stake through this persona that they'd had? Is these sort of nice girls on these tween shows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird. I never ever had one conversation about that with them. Like, I never had any conversation, like, that was never brought up, really. What was brought up was that they were excited to try something that was completely outside the realm of anything they'd done. They were all excited to do something more graphic, more, more innovative, more, as far, acting a completely different style, and to kind of show their range and stuff. It was pretty amazing for me, and surprising it still is, that the film even exists with them in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I remember hearing people be like, like before they'd even seen the film, they would basically saw that billboard that was up on the Quixotic Con, and they'd just be like, Harmony Korine's doing a movie with a bunch of Disney Channel. What a sellout. And you see this movie, like, this is the last movie you make when you want to sell out.
Yeah.
Like, you don't make a drug trance film about a bunch of young women just going buck wild in
But
Florida.
it's cool. Like, I like people when they think that. It's awesome. Like, I think it's great. Like, let them think that, and then they see the movie, and, it's cool. Like, I think it's all good.
I love the notion that there may be, like, a small handful of Selena Gomez fans out there that are just like, we love her in The Wizards of Waverly. Let's go check this out. And then they walk out 2 hours later just, like, completely blown away.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Hopefully, eventually, one day, when they're old enough, they'll all see it.
Now, Selena Gomez's mom was a fan of yours, I've heard?
Yeah, Mandy, yeah.
So she was just like, oh my God, Julian Donkey Boy, let's get you in this movie. And she came and auditioned for you.
They were like, and Selena was like a huge Trash Humper fan, so it was like, it's pretty trippy. It makes you can never guess, you never know. Yeah, so it was pretty amazing.
So she came and auditioned for you in your living room, I've heard?
Yeah, they flew out to Nashville, and because I called this lady who was, we're working with the casting lady, and it's like, who do you want to be in the film? I said, well, I would love, blah, blah, blah. And I said, Selena would, just be the dream. And then the next day they were like, she's flying to your living room. And I was like, whoa. And then I didn't know anything about her personally, and so I just started flipping over all my artwork and stuff because I didn't want to freak her out.
Let's talk a little bit about the research period you had. You went down to a couple of hotels in Florida during spring break while you were writing this, right?
Yeah, I wrote it during spring break like 2 years ago. And I tried to write it in Daytona Beach, and it was just bikers and stuff. I could just see any spring breakers. And then I drove to Panama City, Holiday Inn, like Ground Zero on the beach. It was pretty nuts. The whole hotel was shaking. People just boning. Like I found a jawbone in a chandelier at a Days Inn, and just like debauchery to the extreme. Then but I couldn't write in that environment either. It's Taylor Swift music and puke, and like
Mutually exclusive, I'm sure.
yeah, and then I got in a car and I drove like 20 minutes outside to like a Marriott hotel, and it was just a sea of dwarfs there. And then I was like, "What's up with this?" It's just dwarfs, and I was like, "What's going on?" And the lady said they were shooting a Hulk Hogan reality show, and so I like wrote
Of
it
course.
there, and it was perfect because it was just so. So awful. I just wanted to leave, so I wanted to write as fast as I could. At night, it would just be these guys smoking cigars in hot tubs, dwarfs.
So you've written this, and you've got this cast, and then you go actually film in Tampa, right? Tampa Bay?
We filmed in Tampa was like the strip club stuff, and then we filmed in St. Petersburg, and some in Sarasota.
So you've got this cast that has a pretty rabid following,
Yeah.
and you're in the middle of spring break, and you're trying to make this movie. What were you thinking? Like, this must have just been chaos.
Yeah, I mean the scene. A lot of it was chaos, but it needed to be chaos. The movie, dealt with chaos, so it was technically it was really difficult. I mean, I'd never obviously worked with people like that who had such crazy fans that would follow them. It was nuts. People hiding out in floorboards and stuff, and in hallways, and I could always smell menthol cigarettes burning. A lot of their fans smoke menthols for some reason.
For those of you who haven't seen the film yet, you are with these girls for about half the movie, and then they get thrown in the clink briefly, and then they get bailed out by Alien, who's played by James Franco. Before we get into this, let me just show you a little clip of Alien in action. How did you and James Franco come up with this character? This guy is amazing.
Yeah, well, I wanted to make an amazing character, and I've been wanting to work with him for a while, and we were friends and done some stuff together, but I had never had the right part, and so it was just like when I was figuring out the movie, I was trying to think like what type of person would seduce these girls and kind of take them under their wing and blah 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 and introduce them to crime and I grew up in the South and I still live there now, and it's like a kind of a classic archetypal white gangster, black mannerisms. It's like a thing. A lot of like kids I used to ride the bus with, white kids that would rap with cornrows and gold teeth, and it was funny and intriguing. And then I wanted it to be that, and then I wanted it to go into something like hyper insane and almost like some type of gangster mystic, somebody who's like a sociopath and like almost has this kind of crazy poetic charisma, and that was like equal parts horrifying and beautiful. And so for a year before doing it, I would just send him images, reference photos, video clips, audio clips, rap music from Memphis from the 90s, just things that I thought were specific that his character would know, or cadences. It was supposed to be something regional and specific, and then he went to when he came down to St. Petersburg when we were prepping the movie, and I put him together with this guy named Dangerous, and who was kind of like the real deal in some ways, and they spent some time together. And then Franco filtered it all through Franco, and that's what he became.
Yeah, I can just picture you guys being like, okay, well, this is what we want to do, and this is probably what Alien could be like, and then him just showing up either like in rehearsal or on set in costume and just being like, it's fucking Scarface from Saturn. Like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, like a cosmic gangster.
He's the kind of guy that he's incredibly menacing in this film, and then he'll put his machine gun down and he'll like serenade the girls with the Britney Spears song on a piano. How did you guys come up with that scene?
I don't know. I just dreamt it up.
It's amazing. It's everything that I like about your movies, in which it's totally odd and really fucked up and incredibly beautiful all at the same time.
Yeah, you try to go for things that, or at least you got to go for things that are almost inexplicable, or that work in some way that's beyond a simple like articulation as to it's almost like I try to make work where it's hard to imagine how it could exist. You know what I mean? That that you want it to almost seem like it just fell from the sky or something. You know, like. And so that seems like one of them. Yeah, something I carried around, that song and that idea for for a couple of years, and this was the right movie to do that.
Yeah, you talked about how it's this very innocuous pop song with all this weird pathological flotsam and jetsam going on under it, which is a pretty good metaphor for this movie. It looks all beautiful and bright with this great sheen on it, and then underneath it is just like excess.
Yeah, the song is like that, and I want to make a film that looks like candy in some ways. It was tonal, and it looked like it was lit with like starbursts, you know, or Skittles for lenses, and like that's like what I wanted the film to be, textural, and the character of the film to be something very much in the details and in the tone. The movies are about a feeling, and so then it's about also a culture of surfaces, you know, the way things look and the way people perform and all this stuff. And then all the kind of meaning and pathology is the residue. It's the bleed from the candy.
Well, there's something kind of performance-based about the whole notion of spring break anyway, because it's all these kids they've seen this stuff on MTV or they've like seen it in the culture, and they're like, hey, I got a week off from college and I meant spring break, so this is how I act. I put on like, I get really shit-faced and I put on bikinis.
It's just like that now in general, because just the way when I was a teenager, it was more about like disappearing. Like it was more like a shadow culture. Like we would just try to get away from everything and sleep on rooftops and hide out and not call our parents for a long time. Just disappear. You wanted to be lost. And now everyone wants to be found, and everyone just wants to know what everyone's doing every second of the day. It's a different, I don't know if it's what's better or what's worse, but it's just a different, the way people communicate, they express themselves is more performative. There's less introspection or less personal space and more about a kind of public display. Like everyone now wants to just be found and give it away. Yeah. Whereas like before you wanted to like run away.
Do you think that's part of what fascinates you about bad behavior in general, and like why you keep going back to it in your work? Because even in the movies that you've made where trash is not getting humped, like there's a lot of bad behavior on display, and a weird kind of almost like gleeful celebration of just going out and fucking shit up.
Yeah. I mean, I could say a lot of things about bad behavior and stuff, you know. I think maybe it's just that I always acted bad. And like I always got in a lot of trouble, and I find it thrilling. So
let's open this up to the audience. Do you guys have any questions?
Hi, Mr. Korine. Longtime admirer of you. Thanks for all you've done.
Thanks.
I'm just curious if you plan on working with Larry Clark again in the near future, or any future for that matter.
It's not like anything I've thought about really, but yeah, I mean I haven't never really thought about it, but
if he would be open to doing something else, do you think you guys might collaborate on something?
I don't know. You know, it feels like, you know, we're done separate things, and I mean I wish him all the best, and you know he's a great artist, so but you know it would be pretty strange for that to happen.
Hey man, great stuff. I was just wondering, you said like starburst kind of colors, bleeding kind of the colors out of that. I know you worked with director Gaspar Noé, really amazing filmmaker, on a project together in the past, and I'm wondering if his kind of color palette influenced you. Enter the Void seems to be a really striking resemblance in terms of the color palette.
Well, same cinematographer, Benoit Debie, shot it. But no, I never worked with Gaspar. I mean, we're good friends, but we never did anything. No documentaries, no. I mean, there was maybe a TV show that followed him around Nashville with Hangout, but with me, but no, but nothing like collaborative, creatively. But I mean, I love Gaspar. He's one of my closest friends and a soldier of cinema.
It's like the look of this film is so integral to that kind of druggy trance thing that you're doing. And obviously, like if anybody who's seen Enter the Void, they know that Benoit can do that beautifully. It seems like it's a really good collaboration between the two of you here, with just that kind of weird pop neon nightmare thing that's going on.
Yeah, Benoit's one of my favorites. He's incredible. He's like super innovative and really, again, like, you know, you're trying to make a film in some ways that doesn't work like a normal movie, or it's a different type of experience. It's something that is more physical, and so he's really good at interpreting that and kind of and he's like super inventive, and he's amazing.
Hi, lovely to be here. We talked about music earlier, but I was just wondering how Gucci Mane got involved in, the specific people that are actually in the movie or the music that you're using from them, how that whole collaboration happened.
Gucci, I just love Gucci, just like one of my favorites, and like I think Gucci's like the greatest trap rapper ever, and like he's got like the best voice, and just like his whole thing, Gucci's just like, to me, he's like Frank, he's like the trap Frank Sinatra, and like and so again, you want to work with people whose energy you're connected to, and I just want to work with Gucci, and when I read the script, I was like, he's the only person I wanted, and then I called his manager, Coach K, and I was like, Coach, what's up? Where's Gucci? And he's like, Gucci's in jail, and then we called Gucci in jail, and I said like, that was the first time I talked to him. I was like, as long as, I was like, stay out of trouble, and don't reoffend, and when you get out, they have a part waiting for you, and that's what that's what happened. He got out and just shot that right away.
So if there's any felons that are watching this, Harmony may have a part for you, so just keep on the straight and narrow.
I'm going to do an only felon movie.
All felons all the time. Any more questions?
Hi. I was wondering, like, what are you going to do next? Like, what's your next film? Oh, and did James Franco rap at all in this movie?
Yeah, he raps in there. Yeah, he raps a couple times.
Did Gucci help at all?
Nope, I don't think so. No, he spent time with some of the local guys that the character is loosely based on.
Okay, and when do you get what?
What am I working on next?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just been sitting at home making paintings. I've been like making artwork and keeping to myself mostly. So I'll probably I'm gonna make some more artwork, and then I'm starting to think about writing again, another script and some ideas. So hopefully another movie next year.
There's a sequence in this movie where James Franco basically walks around his bedroom and shows off all the stuff that he's got to the girls. So I'm going to pitch this to you. Do a 3-hour version of that scene and just call it Alien Resurrection.
Someone else, that's good. Someone else asked for that too, like a 10-hour version, because it's
it's so
entertaining.
amazing.
Yeah, it's very compelling. He just goes through his room and picks up everything and just talks about, look at my shit.
I got Scarface on repeat.
Yeah, he comments on everything he has in his house. It goes on forever. I mean, we shot it. It went on forever. Like the extent, you can almost do a whole film of that.
Didn't you say there's like a half-hour real-time cut of him just walking around the room, picking up bottles of tanning oil? And
just like tanning oil, nunchucks, throwing stars, Cheetos. Swords. It's incredible. Bubble gum, Kool-Aid, alien dolls.
Oh, I forgot about the alien dolls. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are great.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Right there in the front row.
Hey, so I think the movie looks really amazing, but frankly, I'm really curious how you're able to like convince someone to let you make it, I guess. I mean, I'm curious if it was based on like the strength of the script or maybe cast you already had. But I mean, it doesn't look like the kind of film that someone would necessarily take a gamble on. So I'm just like curious how you're able to convince someone to let you make it.
Well, I'm just great, and I do whatever I have to do to be great, and I can't be stopped. So I just get movies made.
Hear, hear. Are there any secrets to your greatness, or do you want to keep those under lock and key so that everyone doesn't start just pilfering?
When I say that, I mean that in a way that I just won't let anything stop me. So I'm driven to a point where I just never doubt myself in that way that the film won't exist. So like I just will make it happen. I just like will it to happen, because like for me there's like nothing more important than its existence. And so when you stand like that, it's hard to fall.
Any more questions? That's a great answer to end on.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
Take care.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.